just went over and serged those edges. Next is the facings. Here's the front facing, and I need to attach it to the front of here. And this is done with a 5/8 inch seam allowance. And I'm just putting it right back on where I cut it off. Now we have this lovely trim grade press, wide to the world, all those things, if you remember the techniques. So the first is to press it the way it was sewn. Over here and do that. And then trim. First trim to 3/8. The easiest way to do that is just cut along that seam where I attached my sew-in interfacing, because that was at 1/4, so that took off a 1/4. Now they're all 3/8. Interfacing always goes down to 1/8. So take the sew-in interfacing and take it down to 1/8. And then I have to figure wide to the world. So down to down. So when I'm wearing this, this is the world. So I look up inside my seam allowances here. This is the long one, the one that's next to my fashion fabric. So this one back here, which is the facing one, which typically is the one that's the next shortest, is the one that's going to become 5/8 or 1/4. You know what? I'm going to press this open while I can. And this is sew-in interfacing, so I don't have to worry about the press cloth so much. Okay, so it's this one on the facing side that I cut another 1/8 of an inch off. All right, now I should have 3 lovely little layers. So my long one is 3/8, the facing one is 1/4, my interfacing is 1/8. So press it open, which I just did, and press it shut. And I'm going to favor the edge ever so slightly. So that from the front side, all I see is the folded edge, and from the back side, there's a tiny little lip showing. Should have made my facing a different color so you can see that better. All right, and because this is not going to show, I am going to understitch. So I'm going to come back to the sewing machine. If this were a real shirt, let me show you this because it might happen on your shirts. If this were a shirt that had a collar that came down and then this part folded back like this, I don't want understitching to show right here. So I would come down below this point where the fold is, that's the roll line. I'd come below that and start understitching about here. So I'm going to do that just to show you. Make sure all the facings, all the seam allowances are towards the facing. And put in a row of stitching. If you'd like to use that number 5 foot, you're welcome to do that. I can usually sew pretty good and get down there without that. So there's my row of understitching that's attaching my seam allowances to my facing side. Okay, now I'm going to sew my front facing to my back facing. And this starts looking a little bit funny, so that it works in the end, I promise. So here's my back, here's the front with the side that was cut on facing. Here's my front with the side that was a sew on facing. So now they look back exactly the same again. So the back facing is going to go between the 2 shoulder facings. So there's the back facing, that's where it's going to end up, but I have to do it right sides together. So this gets flipped back and will get sewn to this side, and I have the same issue that I had with the shoulder seams. So I match it up out here at the 5/8, and on the neck edge it won't match up at the cut line, but it will match up down here at the sewing line. So So there's that side. So here's this one. So it gets folded back on itself this way. So down here at the 5/8 is where I need to be worried that they're matching up. And out here at this edge, it's hanging out a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it because that's going to get trimmed off when I hem it. Okay, so I can sew these two seams, and it's just a standard 5/8 inch.